Welcome to the Good Life. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Patrick Harney. And as always, make sure to check this out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHEART Radio. And also, if you're listening to this, you can watch this on YouTube as well. Please make sure to subscribe and also share it. Give it a thumbs up and like it, please, because it helps me out. Today, I have a very, very, very special guest on the show because he's my brother, Matt Harney. He was a sergeant in the Army National Guard, and he did spend some time overseas in Afghanistan, but he's also gone to Egypt. But we'll talk about all of his adventures and all of his time over there. So, yeah, let's get into it. Hello, brother.
Hello.
My fellow blood. How are you, man? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Real good.
So the reason why I wanted to have you on was really just to make fun of you. But no, because I really wanted to have you on because I wanted to talk with you about your time in the military. So you were a sergeant when you left, correct?
That's right.
So yeah, if you could, can you just, so when did you get into when did you go into basic? What made you want to get into the military? And what were you doing at the time when you went into the military?
Yeah. So let's be honest. You didn't want to talk to me. You ran out of friends. And,
well, when you only have 5,
yeah. Hey, it's all about quality, not quantity. You ran out of friends and you're like, I guess I'll call Matt. Yeah. So I joined in 2006. I don't know if you remember, but at the time, I was going to Grand Valley and school was not my forte. I did okay. It was fine, but my priorities were not set straight. And I always had that yearn to join the military, even from a young age. Why? I don't know. It kind of happened that I thought about it. And I remember sitting down watching like World War II flicks and getting motivated. And of course, this was, shortly after, the war in Iraq had started. Obviously, there was operations in Afghanistan and stuff at the time too. And, I was sitting there. I remember sitting in my room in the apartment that I shared with a couple buddies that I lived with. And, watching these shows, I was like, man, maybe I can still do this. It's not too late. I dreaded school. I stayed up super late all the time. I really wasn't focused. I was kind of all over the map at the time. And
why were you not focused?
I went down, I talked to a recruiter, and almost in that moment, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
I didn't so I didn't tell her that I was in, but in my mind, I knew I was in. So I waited on it, I think it was 24 hours. And I went back, met up with her again and said, hey, I'm in, I want to join, I don't want to, I want to be done with school, at least for now. And then, worry about that later and join. So, went down and talked to her and started signing off on paperwork almost immediately.
Jeez.
And I said, well, when can I go to basic training, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's like, well, we have all these times slotted, when we can ship people out. And I said, well, I want to go as soon as possible, because if I feel like this is an impulsive decision, I want to make a move now. So I don't have the anxiety. I'm not waiting. I'm not nervous about it. And I can just ship out and go and be part of it. So yeah, 2006 was when it kicked off.
Okay. So where was your basic training at?
I went to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri.
Okay. And now basic, isn't that like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't it like a 9-month period or 8-month period, or am I totally off?
So it's a pretty long course. So it's kind of broken into 2. You have your basic training. And then when you finish that, you're in what's called AIT, or Advanced Individual Training. So we're talking about Army here, of course. So I went to basic training and went through, forget my memory here. I think it was like a 9-week deal, and then we went into AIT. So AIT is where you go after basic. Everybody goes through basic training. Everybody goes through a set of skills and learning process, and they beat you down and build you back up, and then you go to AIT, and then in AIT is where you do more specialized training based on your MOS or your job, what you're going to do in the military. And me being an NP, the AIT also it's different, a different length for different MOSs. So I was gone for quite a while. I left in July. I believe I left in July, and I came back the following February. I think February is when I graduated.
Yeah.
So you can count the months.
Yeah. So when you were in the military, then what did you go in with the hope that you would ship overseas, or was it just something that you just wanted to be a part of the military? And if you went, you went. If you didn't, fine. I mean, what because I feel like some people, I feel like you would have to sign up with the thought of, okay, there's a good chance that I might get shipped over to go fight because we're in a wartime. Was that part of your decision, or was it more so just to try and serve?
Yeah, no, when I joined with I'm going to use it loosely here, but it's not necessarily that. But yes, part of it was I kind of hoped that when I joined that I would be deployed. It's not so. I think a lot of young men and women, they join, and there's this romantic side of war that people talk about, and you see in movies and stuff like that. You watch Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, these different Hollywood flicks, right? So there's a romantic side. Of course, you have the gory, the nasty side, and then this romantic side. But for me, it wasn't so much about that. It was I joined because I wanted to find a way to serve. Everything that I was doing at Grand Valley, when I went there and I had a goal to play football, I wanted to get a degree, which I bounced around left and right with what I was going to do. And it just wasn't there. I was kind of bound up, didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go in my life. But that was the one constant is the military thing. So what I knew, I had this yearning to serve. So I went for that reason. Many people join, or people join for many different reasons. A lot of people will join so they get, college tuition paid for, their student loans are repaid, so on and so forth. There's a lot of other benefits, but I didn't join for that reason. I joined simply to serve. And when I did, and when I joined, I didn't know anything about the rank structure, the weapon systems. I didn't know anything. I knew what camo was, and that was about it. That was, I knew that I was going to have a cool uniform.
Yeah.
When I joined, and then I realized after I joined, it wasn't so cool until they changed them. But yeah, no, it was simply to serve. So when I joined in 2006, so this was 5 years after 9/11 took place, and there was the war was still active, it was still going. There was no drawdown yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that there was probably going to be a good chance that I would deploy, and I was okay with that. I mean, mentally, emotionally, physically, I was okay with it, and I was willing to take it head on and do my part.
Man, now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Well, okay, let me just ask, what were you doing on your 21st birthday that was maybe unique to many others, or many other people's 21st birthday experiences?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this probably in the past. So I know a lot of people get excited because they go out and they drink and try to throw back 21 shots or 21 drinks or whatever the nonsense is, right? And on my 21st birthday, we were, and of course we were at basic, or I was at basic in AIT. And on my 21st birthday, we were at the live grenade range. So when a lot of people tell stories about being at the bar and bar hopping and being downtown or wherever they live doing whatever, it's kind of cool to say that on my 21st birthday I got to throw live grenades. So that was pretty cool.
Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Just
I'd love to do it again.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be so cool. So I guess so now because I remember before you went to Afghanistan, you went on a security detail, correct?
Yes.
Egypt.
Yep. Egypt. Yep.
So I'm not sure how much you can talk about that, but so what was that like? What was your expectations going into that compared to what everything actually was? Because weren't they different?
Yeah. So I think my expectations were like, I was going to be in Egypt and cool stuff might happen and
You're
whatever.
basically
So
gonna
I
be like
thought it was
Jason
going to be something
Bourne.
sweet. Yeah, exactly. But that was also like the young private in me at the time. And yeah, it was a security detail. So the short of it is we had troops that were over there and training with the Egypt military. And I was over there with a whole group of people from the company that I went with. And we were there to basically police the troops that were in training. So me as an MP, a lot of what I did was security too. So we were in Cairo. I was in Cairo. And it was pretty cool. We stayed at, I think it was called the Movenpick. So you think you're going to go here and you're going to see like pyramids and desert and that's it. And I go there and it's like, I'm staying in this 5-star resort, beautiful pools. The food was phenomenal. I ate like ostrich every day and a couple other, pretty cool things. And I actually was talking to Tanya the other day about this. And we had this conversation about, if you could drink one more thing every day for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I was like, the guava juice that I had in Egypt. I know,
So
random, right?
specific.
It's not like whiskey or beer or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the guava juice and something about it there. But yeah, so we were there to police. So anybody that stayed in the resort that we were at
Mm-hmm.
while they were there in training, basically, if anybody was doing anything that they shouldn't be doing or being stupid, we had the chance to basically roll them up before the Egyptians did.
Mm.
And that was for international asylum issues and legal jargon, way above where I was at, way above my pay grade. It was basically to take care of them if needed. And I didn't run into any problems, so I basically had a vacation in Cairo. I saw the pyramids, the Sphinx, which was neat because everything makes it look like it's in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. And you're at the Sphinx and you turn around and you have a KFC and a Taco Bell right there. So sorry to anybody that wants to go see the Sphinx. It's great. It's cool. It's fun. But it's not what you think it is when you get there,
Jeez.
when you turn around. So,
Well, that's
yeah, so that was the security detail. And it was a good time. I think we were there only for like a month,
yeah.
but it was a month well spent.
Yeah, I remember you being there. It wasn't too long of a trip. But so after that, how soon after that did you go over to Afghanistan?
So I went to Afghanistan in 2011. So we were there from 11 to 12. So I think I went to Egypt maybe 2 or 3 years before that, and then Afghanistan, yeah, just a few years after.
Yeah, because I remember you went to Texas for training and briefing and everything like that. And you were there for granted, I was like in early high school. So if I remember correctly, I think you were there for like a couple months, maybe 3 months, and then maybe longer. And then you shipped over to Afghanistan. And I remember that like I didn't really understand what it was going to be like. Like I just thought, oh, he's just doing his military thing. And then like I was like, oh, things aren't that great over there, and that's when everything started to kind of set in a little bit for me here. So I can't even imagine, being in your shoes. But so what was the objective for you guys going over there, and spending the time that you did, when you were over there? What was all that you had to do and everything that you guys were assigned?
Yeah, so when we went there, we were there. So on the front end, right? So before we leave, we hear all these things. We hear all this drama and all this crazy stuff that's going on, and all these IEDs and all this crazy stuff happening. And mind you, there's not many I don't know how to word this. So there's, obviously a lot of people have served, right? A lot of people have served. They've been in either the theater in Iraq or the theater in Afghanistan or both. And a lot of people go and never really deal with a whole lot of anything. What we say is outside the wire, right? So we're not talking about like on an outpost or on a base or anything like that. So, the stories that you hear are always, it's crazy. It's kind of wild. It's like when shit hits the fan, it goes wild. And so our objective when we were there is basically to support the Afghan National Police. And that was kind of where, so I went with, there was 3 different platoons in our company. And when we went, my platoon, our job was, we embedded with the Afghan National Police at Police Substation 5, which doesn't really mean anything to anybody listening on this, obviously, but we were in Kandahar. So I lived with all 30 plus of us in our platoon at a police station. So we didn't live on an outpost. We didn't live on a base or a camp anywhere. We lived, I guess, at the time we always said we lived outside the wire. And so our job was basically to train them up, teach them, run missions with them, whether it was mounted or dismounted, meaning either, in vehicles would be mounted for us or dismounted would be on foot. So we did a lot of missions where we but we walked through different villages, and we built rapport with the locals, especially with the elders. That was big. So we were able to go with military intel and speak with these people, get to know these people, and kind of get an idea where the Taliban were moving, what they've heard, stuff like that. That's kind of like the basis of it. And then at the police station, it was my job. So I became what's called the NCOIC. I was basically the one in charge of training the Afghan police that we lived with. So at any point, I mean, these guys were all over the map. There could be 50 of them on one day and 100 the next day, and then 20 there the day after. And my job was to create some kind of a functional training curriculum, if you will, to kind of teach them the basics, the very basics. We're not going to give them every detail of how we operate and what we do, but the basics, so that when we leave one day, they can take that over and run missions and use these tactics and use this training and kind of go off that and try to establish something, build off of it for longevity. So, we worked hand in hand with the Afghans. We had other people that also worked with the Afghan National Army that were on our company. So other platoons, they split off and did their own thing. So basically working with the Afghanistan government and those that worked for the Afghanistan government anyway. And, try to build them up to a point where when we're gone, they can kind of take over and try to run the show without us.
Yeah.
So it was difficult.
Well, to kind of speak to that difficulty, I mean, and I think you had said before, but you always hear of corruption, I mean, was there a lot of corruption within the police officers that you guys were having to deal with and having to try and train? I mean, was there a lot of that, or were they all pretty like, yeah, we don't want, these groups here anymore. We need to be able to self-sustain.
Yeah. So yes, is the short. There's a lot of corruption, but at the same time, so there was also a lot of people that came into Afghanistan. We had people at our police station, for instance, just as an example, and I'll keep this brief and then answer your question better. But we had people that came to or worked out of our police station from like Turkey, for instance.
Oh.
Right. You wouldn't think that, like, Turkey, what are you doing in Afghanistan? But it's where they could find work and they could get paid. So a lot of these guys, they would do anything they could to make a buck. So although there was corruption in a lot of it, there's also a lot of people buying into the corruption, not out of malicious intent, but they had to find a way to provide for their families. They had to find a way to make money. right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's easy in the US because in the US, we just say, well, you can get a job over here, you can build this income or have this salary, and then you can move on and provide for your family, or you can work up from there. In a third world country like Afghanistan, especially in wartime, it's a lot harder for them to do that. So yes, there was corruption. We had people stealing equipment, stealing connexes,
What are those?
which are not to insult anybody's intelligence. Yeah. So a connex, basically, if you look on like the back of a semi, right, like a 52, 53 foot long box, right, at a shipyard, big
Mm-hmm.
steel boxes, that's a connex. So we use those often. So they would steal these connexes. They would steal fuel, and they would turn around and try to sell the fuel that we've given them to fill their trucks. They would turn around and sell that to the locals, right? So it was easy in the moment to be mad about it and get frustrated with them, but then you kind of have to look at the reality of the situation that they're living in and realize, they're doing what they can to make an extra buck, because they may not get paid from, I don't know how they got paid. The government, the chief at the police station. I don't want to speculate exactly. I don't remember all the fine details now, but they needed money at the here and now, because a lot of these guys had kids or they had wives and they were living away from them. So they would try to make a quick buck and send them back so their families could eat. So, and then of course there's always those that are just looking for, a quick buck anyway to better themselves, and just for them, because they could be selfish, or they were all about number one, right? They were all about themselves. So we did deal with that. But the biggest thing to work around that with the people that we work with on a daily basis with the Afghan National Police was really, we had to build a rapport. We had to build solid relationships with these guys. Not just from a anti-corruption standpoint, but from the standpoint that when we're walking around in these villages and we're in vulnerable situations, we needed them to have our backs, just like we were always willing to have their backs. If something happened to one of them, our medics would take over and help them out. But we wanted something similar on the other end, not just up front physically with walking around or running missions, but with intel and information. We want them to feel comfortable telling us, hey, the enemy is moving here or there, right? And we want them to feel comfortable telling us about that, so we don't walk into an ambush or into something crazy. So, corruption was real, but there's multiple layers to it. It doesn't make all of them bad, but if you put yourself in a situation at home, if the whole world crumbled around you, what would you do to keep your family safe and keep your family fed? So there's different layers to it. It doesn't make them all bad per se, but they're doing what they can do to survive and make sure their family survives.
Man, now, and it's crazy to think about too, because here in the U.S., nobody can really comprehend what it's like to live in a country that a war is happening in that country.
Yeah.
And I always think it's interesting what's the quote? I think it's something that, like, hard times make hard men make soft times make soft men make hard times.
Yeah.
It's just like a vicious cycle. And but yeah, so that is interesting to hear, though, that that it is deeper than just, oh yeah, they're corrupt, that's they're bad.
It is. And that's where it's easy. So when we were there, right, after a little while, you start to get really frustrated. You can become overwhelmed and let your emotions and stuff like that kind of take over. But looking back on it now, I mean, it's been close to 10 years now since we left, or during the 10 years since our tour. But what you said is right. Hard men make soft times. Soft times make soft men make hard times. And I have a very strong opinion on that cycle as to where we are right now.
As do I.
Yeah. And
We are
I
in a
guarantee we
soft,
agree.
we are in a soft
But
time with soft men.
yeah, and but I think there's even more to that, because people in the U.S. and I say people, so I'm not trying to blanket across the board, because that's certainly not the case. Because there's a lot of people in the U.S. that live on hard times. They were born into hard times, they
Yeah.
live hard times, and then they die in hard times.
Yeah.
And we can't take that away. And hard times in the U.S. It doesn't, just because you're in the U.S. doesn't necessarily mean that it's easier or better than living in a third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people feel like they've grown up and lived in a third world city or state or community or whatever. I mean, I don't think we can take that away from them by any means. But there's a lot of things in the U.S. that people complain about, right? And there's a lot of things that are completely unnecessary. I mean, if you can get up in the morning and you have shoes to put on, number one, you've got pants and shoes to put on to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you just got out of pajamas that you could afford to buy. And you can put on your clothes, you can go to the store and you can buy food, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. The fact of the matter is you can buy something. You're doing okay.
Yeah.
And I think people kind of forget that. And then people joke and they say, oh, first world problems. Well, and they say sarcastically, like, I get that, but there's a lot of people across the world, across the globe, that they would love to be able to joke like that. Right. Yeah. They struggle. They get up in the morning and they don't know where the next meal is going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a lot of people here. There's a lot of people that live on the streets in very poor communities. So, it's easy to joke about it. And I think I'm going to say we, because I know that I've said things like that in the past, but we joke about it, but we don't understand the full picture of it, because the majority of Americans think that a hard time is, I had a bad day at work. I don't feel well and I still had to work when I wasn't feeling well. Yeah. I sat behind a desk with an upset belly. Well, toughen up, buttercup. Yeah. There's people that always have it worse. And no matter how bad you have it, there's somebody out there that has it way worse. Yeah. And I think it's important for people to remember that.
Well, like you said too, I mean, there's people out there that are doing whatever they can to make sure that their kids are fed.
Yeah.
That's a lot different than getting yelled at by your boss.
Big time. Big time.
And so when things like that are put into perspective, I think it's important, to keep that in mind and try to keep that perspective going. No matter how nice your life gets, there's always somebody that could use use a helping hand if you're able.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to talk some more about, so you were in Kandahar, you were in Afghanistan. Well, one, I remember you coming back and you were yoked, like you were jacked. You had gained like 30 pounds of just straight muscle, and I was like, damn. And then Tanya was like, damn.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing about, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean it has been almost 10 years. So the cycle was like, didn't you had like a mission day and then a day off, or you had two missions and then a day off, or a day off and then, or 2 days off and then a mission. So if you're able, what types of missions were you guys having to do? Because I know there was a lot of intel stuff, correct?
Yeah, there was. So you're right. As far as we would have one day, we'd have basically like a mission day. So think of it like Monday through Friday, right? So Monday, my squad, so our platoon had 2 squads, and our 2 squads had X amount of people. In those squads, we had it broken down into 4 teams or whatever. So and it was 7 days a week, so we didn't have a Monday through Friday 9 to 5, right? Yeah. This was 24/7 as long as we're there. So every other day, my squad would, it's not my squad. I was not the squad leader. I was a team leader, but I wasn't a squad leader. So our squad, rather, we would go out and be on mission. So we would get up and we might drive around. We might walk through different villages, depending on what the intel said, the information. We would get our orders for the day. I'm trying to not use all the jargon in the world, but we would get our orders and say, this is our objective. This is what we want you guys to do. So we say on a Monday, we would go out, right? So we might get up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever, and be gone all day long. And then come back in the evening, and then we would take over basically security for the police station that we lived at.
Okay.
And then the other squad would take over the mission side of it. So then the following day, from that evening through the following night, they would take over the mission side of it while we ran security at our police station. And then we would alternate that every single day. So it was on, off, until we left.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was busy, but it's like anything else. You acclimate to it. You become used to it. You find a way to work with it. You become very close to the people that you're around because, you're so confined. We were confined to this very, very small area with 4 walls and these T barriers and these HESCO barriers and C wire and all the stuff around us. It's not like, man, I really want a chocolate milk, so let me jump in a truck and run down to Rite Aid or something, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that. You live with what you have right there with those people, and they share the same issues, concerns, and whatever it is. So, we alternate those mission days, and then back and forth, and it never ends. And at some point, you start to feel like, man, and I always told myself, one day this is going to be one bad dream. It'll be a memory. It'll be like one big bad dream that I don't have to worry about anymore, right? And not that it was all bad. The deployment's not all bad, but it's just it's the monotony of it and the slowness, and then the always having that anxiety or always having that hyper vigilance because you don't know what's going to happen around you, and that wears on your body, wears on your mind over time, and that's part of the reason why I was like, I need to start working out again. I need to get harder. I need to get more into it than what I was before.
Yeah, because I remember when you came back, right when you came back was when I started going to the gym because I started going with you. And I remember the workout plan that you had. Every workout was like 2.5 to 3 hours long, and it was just like destroying every part of your body basically every day. And I was like, dude, like, how do you even do this? Like, yeah, man, that's But so weren't you, and tell me if we can't talk about this, didn't you get to work with the Canadian Special Forces at one point?
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of funny, right? Because I go and I always used to tell like Eric and those of you that are going to listen to this that are family or close friends, you guys all know Eric Cobb because he's basically another brother in the family. Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know him, he was one of my best buddies overseas, and we've continued to have that friendship since we got home. So it's funny because I used to tell him all the time, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm pretty much Canadian Special Forces, no big deal, whatever. So yeah, so we did. So it was me and then my other buddy Taylor, Taylor Meyer. Yep, great buddy of mine. We still talk all the time. He was on my team over there too, and I don't exactly know how it came to be, but it came to be. So you have this small unit, this platoon of us at this police station, and somebody in our platoon, I'm sure, knows all the fine details, or they remember it, but there's certain things after a decade have started to get a little bit fuzzy over time. And we did. It was a Canadian Special Forces team, if you will, and I think because of NATO, right, or ISAF, and they were coming into, and I'm using quotes if you're not listening or if you're not watching, but a U.S. controlled area in Afghanistan, and basically they came in and said, hey, we need some representation from the U.S. here, and we were right there at our police station, and they had a mission to run. And our lieutenant, our platoon leader, which at the time was Lieutenant Check, he got a hold of me, and I went into the talk and talked to him and said, hey, I want your team to go. I want you and Taylor and the rest. I want you guys to mount up, get ready. You'll have more information soon. So we got all of our stuff on. This was our not our down day, but our security day, right? And so we got all of our stuff ready, went through all of our what we call PCCs and PCIs, making sure everybody has everything that they need possible for going on a mission. And we staged ourselves in our truck, and these guys come in into our police station, and I get to meet whoever their team leader was. They gave us names to call them. And that's what we called. Well, two of them. The rest of them, I have no idea. We can make up a name for them. They were going to tell us their names anyway.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this was cool for us. For them, it was another day at the office. So,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and try to tell people that I'm Canadian Special Forces, because that's not even remotely close. So basically, we ran a mission, just our team, and we had open communication with our company, with my platoon leader. We had open communication with that team, and we went and we ran a mission. It was very quick what we had to do. Did what had to be done, and then we went home.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was an experience, because it was completely unexpected. There's no way in hell I ever would have expected that would come up. And then the fact that it did, and then our team leader was like, hey, Harney, I want you, go.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat. So I always tell Eric, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much Canadian Special Forces, no big deal.
So what was the difference? What did you see the difference between, between those guys and what you guys were normally running? I mean, in terms of, whether it be, different maneuvers, or I don't know what you call it, but
yeah,
the way they ran things compared to the way you guys would run things, what were some of the differences that you saw?
a lot.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
These guys are basically just like our own forces, special forces, special operators, whatever you want to call them. It's just a different breed of human beings. That's really what it is, right? Mm. We have a lot of very strong, tough people in our own communities, and these people are, their training's different, far excels what we do, what they go through, their responsibilities, accountability, it's all just way different. I mean, obviously they dress different. We had this up-armored MATV, we are in full battle rattle, meaning we have our plate carriers, we've got all of our weapon systems, ready to go, these up-armored trucks, everything else. And these guys are rolling around in up-armored SUVs, right? And they're wearing ball caps. They've got a ball cap, they've got a vest on, and they've got whatever jeans or whatever they want to wear, and then their own weapon systems. And that's not how it always is for them. But mm-hmm. in this situation, that's what it was. So they're, so the point is that from like dress code all the way up through how they execute things is just different. They live for it. They do it all the time. It's part of who they are. It's ingrained in who they are. It's ingrained in their families, what they do. So, and another difference is just how they execute a mission, and how they execute, knocking down doors.
Yeah.
It's different. It's quick. It's fast. It's like you take your most prime athletes you've ever seen, right? So you can, if you're a football lover, basketball lover, whatever it is, right? You take your best NFL players, best NBA players, and these guys wouldn't stand a chance against some of the operators that we have or our allies have. They wouldn't, yeah. Right? They are just the tip-top human beings. So everything from the front end to the back end, but how they carry themselves. They didn't treat myself or our team that we were just some army team that was tagging along and we were just extra baggage. They brought us in. They treated us no different. They openly communicated on the radio every step that they were doing, what they were doing, how they were doing it. basically, told us where to go, who they wanted to come with them once we were on foot. They broke everything down. They treated us like we were one of them. But they know how to do that. They do that all around the world all the time. So,
well, and also too, I mean, it's, I would imagine, and again, I can only imagine that in situations like that, you don't want to go in with the mindset, if you're them, you don't want to go in with the mindset of, oh, this is just another Army squad that we're working with. Like, because these are life-threatening situations. So you want to make sure, okay, we are clear on communications. We are clear on this, clear on that, and making sure everything goes smoothly, because a lot of chaos can happen. Now when you guys, like you'd mentioned, when you guys did have to go on foot, you were with them, correct? You were one of the guys that went with them on foot?
Yeah. Yep.
So I remember you telling me, and this is really all I'll say about it, but I remember you telling me that you always took pride in how fast you were, just in everything. You've always been fast. And you said that when you guys were, I think, going through a building or something, that you felt really slow compared to these guys moving through.
Well, they had their, so they had their own agenda. They knew what they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the details. I got minimal details once we were with them in the convoy, right? That was my brief. And they did that intentionally. They were going to brief only who was there, so that we knew that when we pull up to wherever we're going, we knew where to go and what they were going after, basically.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of information. So I was the team leader. So I sat basically in the passenger seat of the truck, and I have people from our company command at an outpost, a few miles away. I've got our platoon leader, a couple miles away, and then I have them chattering on the radio to each other and then trying to fill me in. So I've got this chatter coming in, and I'm trying to filter through it and respond the best I can. So some of that's pretty fuzzy, but yeah, I mean, your speed and your wits and your mind and all that stuff that, I've always been pretty good at thinking on my feet, and being quick in general. So physically, mentally, and being able to, move through things as needed. So where that comes from is when we got to the objective or where we were going, these guys literally, I swear to God, like I blinked twice and they are all over this compound, if you will, right? And there's a little bit more to it. I basically waited for the okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were, they don't just pick somebody like that. They don't just pick somebody up and say, hey, come knock down doors with us. That's not how it works. That's not, they have their own stuff. They have their own mission. They train for whatever they got to train for. And I was after the fact, after the fact. All right. Yeah. So just to clarify that, I did not do what they did, right, to their level. So this was a very, very fast, quick mission for them, and what they were going for. And I was part of it, but there was a delay to it, and they were just on it. They're just so fast. They're damn good at what they do.
Yeah. See,
it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what they do.
Yeah.
And the turnaround time from time on target to the time that they leave or exfil, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
that's called efficiency.
So
right there.
I'm not special forces. It was just a great experience, and I got to meet a couple of guys and talk to them a little bit after the fact, and it was just neat.
Yeah.
Because you realize these guys are flesh and blood. They are humans. They are no more or less of a man than the next person, and they know that, and that's what keeps them humbled, and that's probably what keeps them in the game. It's probably what keeps them alive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they're just wired a little differently.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So by the time you guys left, what was the lasting impact that you saw, or was there, from everything that you guys did over there to, from start to finish? Could you see a great improvement, or was it one of those? Because I've heard from other people that I know that have been overseas that has said, yeah, we went over there, things were great while we were there, and then the second we left, everything went pretty much just shit after that. So what,
Right.
was there, could you see improvement, like a lasting improvement, or was it just like, well, we did what we could when we were there and that's about it?
Yeah. So it's tough, and I know, you and I kind of talked about this in the past. So it's kind of loaded as far as we are one very small piece to a much larger puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, it's really hard to see that. So I can look at it on it. I can look back on it 10 years later and look at it differently now. If you were to ask me right when I got home, because I think initially when I got home, I was just angry, frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
At multiple things. But at the time, I'd tell you, oh, this is pointless. This was dumb. I wasted all this time, frustrated at how things were going. I would have done this better or differently. But over time, you start to realize you're a much smaller piece to a much larger puzzle.
Mm.
So it's hard to say whether we made things better or we made things worse. Many people will tell you, hands down, we made it worse. And many people will tell you, hands down, we made it better.
Yeah.
And I think it's very small thinking, right? We don't know. So, in hindsight, I mean, what if we never were there at all, ever? What if we never showed up day one in Afghanistan? Where would they be now? I don't know. It might be all rubble. Or, it could be some utopia.
Yeah.
Unlikely, obviously, but so it's hard to tell. So what I can speak to is where we were at, the part that we were at in Kandahar. We had I think I would hope, and I'd like to believe that we had a long-lasting effect on certain people. We had some young kids that came into our compound every day where we lived. They were locals from the village right behind where I lived. They would come in, they would police up our area. So they would go through and they would clean up garbage. They would put it in bags. They would, and this was on their own. This is not like, hey, you guys have to go do this if you want to be here. That's not what it was. What it was is the Afghan police allowed them to come in, right? So this was not America saying, oh, you guys got to go clean up garbage. That's not it. So, So for anybody that is all things against Afghanistan, and the war on it, you can eat it based on these words. So this was up to the people that live there, the Afghan police. And but what we did do is they would come in and they would like do these chores for the Afghan police, and they would walk around, right? And they would come up and we started to build a relationship with them. And a couple of the little boys, we would make them breakfast every morning. They would come sit with us. We fill them up with food, a plate of food. And a couple of Tanya I know she sent some like coloring books and like markers and such, so that I could give it to them. And I know some of the other guys and gals that I served with, they did the same thing. And we try to support these guys. So there was a little bit of English that we would try to teach them so they could start learning English a little bit. They would teach us a little bit of like Pashto and stuff like that. So that we built this relationship with these kids. I think there was like a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and I'm ballparking here. They were very young. And then we would give them food and they would take that home to their family, which they lived behind us at the police station. In addition, any big cardboard boxes or linen, stuff like that, they would take it home too. So you got to remember, these people live in these basically mud huts.
Yeah.
So anything they get, like cardboard or linen, stuff like that, they would add it onto their homes, or it would be something they could use in their homes. So we would try to hold on to certain things and help them out and make sure they could take those. And in doing that, throughout the course of the year, this young boy, his name was Ahmed, his mom, during our Thanksgiving, of course, they made this big bowl. It was like rice and beans and some other stuff. It was phenomenal. It was delicious. And this bread, I remember eating that. And then the Afghan police that we lived with, they had a turkey and they butchered it right there in front of us, plucked it, whatever. And then we had a turkey dinner and then this big bowl of food that this kid's mom made for us. So there's something to show for, I think, if we are building some kind of rapport. Hey, maybe it's 2-3 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's something. It has to start somewhere. So when they are willing to build this feast for us, for our platoon, at this police station, it kind of goes to show that we did make some kind of a difference somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And there's other families and other people that we could rely on and talk to on missions and stuff like that throughout the course. The big picture, I don't know. I can't tell you. Everybody's got a different take on it. I've got my own personal take on things, but I kind of battle. Did we make it better? Did we make it worse? I think we made it better for a lot of small families and small people, because a lot of villagers and stuff at the time, they didn't know who Osama bin Laden was. They didn't know big players. They didn't know who was running their government. They didn't know that. They knew what was happening in their village, in their community. And if we made that community a little bit better, then they would give us the intel to help the overall mission. So again, it's another one of those things that there's a lot of layers, but people will talk about it and politicize it and polarize it, make it something outrageous when sometimes there's way more to it and it goes way deeper. So hopefully that answer is okay.
That's a
big picture.
Answer,
I don't know.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
And of course it depends on where you're at. Because different areas have different levels of fighting, different types of people. Some people fear the Taliban more than others. Some people fear the Americans more than others. So it's the big picture. It's hard to see.
Yeah. So after you got back, you started, and it's funny because I remember you trying to get me into this business, and Mom was like, hell no. You tried, or you started climbing towers, working on cell phone towers and communications towers. So how did you even get into that? Because I don't know if I even know that. How did you even get into that? And two, like what made you think like, you know what, I'm going to do this for my career here and like work my way up the ladder?
Well, it wasn't my first choice.
Because I always
there's a lot of risk.
Heights.
Oh, I always thought I was too.
Yeah.
So before I left, some people know, some people don't, but I was working at Valvoline in Okemos, right? Mm-hmm. I was changing oil. And during that time, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I was still trying to figure out between, military versus civilian. What am I doing? Where am I going? What's going to happen? And the day that I left, because we got orders to go, I remember I told my boss, I said, don't hold my spot. Legally they have to hold a spot, yada, yada, yada for you, right? When you go on orders. And I told him, I said, no, I said, I'll sign whatever you need. Don't hold my spot, because when I come back, I'm not coming back to this place. And it wasn't a knock on him. It wasn't a knock on the company. I made a lot of really good friends working there. We had a good time, but I was making $8.35 an hour. Oof. And I knew that I had that job, and I looked at it as a transition, right? This is buying me time, because I'm not above flipping burgers. I'm not above frying fries. I'm not above that. Some people think that they're, maybe more of a human than the rest, and they're not. I was not above just working whatever I had to work to make it, rub 2 pennies together, basically. Yeah. And but I told him, I said, when I come back, I'm not going to continue this job. I'll come back here and get my oil changed on my car. That's fine. But I'm gonna move up. It's time. So I sold my car, and when I sold my car, I bought an engagement ring, and without that, I never would have been able to propose to Tanya, at least with a ring anyway. Yeah. So I knew when I came back, I was like, okay, I got to do something. I got to really buckle down. I got to figure something out. And Eric's brother, Dean, Eric Cobb again, offered Eric a job in the tower industry, climbing cell phone towers. The money was good. There's opportunity for benefits. And at the time I was like, yeah, I don't know. He asked me about it when we were overseas and when our tour was about to wrap up. And I said, I don't know, man. By this time my contract was getting very close to ending. And I was going to be getting out, and I knew that I was going to be getting out because I wanted to be able to build a family. And I was like, no thanks. And then we get home and we go out to eat with Eric and Tanya, and he talks to me about it again. And I said, I don't know, man, I'm afraid of heights. I don't think I can do it. Nope, not a chance. And then Tanya looks at me and goes, Matt, if you don't like it, you can find something new. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. It doesn't make me locked in.
Yeah.
So I did. I took the leap. I took the risk, and I joined a company that was based out of Texas. They had a sister company up here in Michigan. Started climbing towers, and the first tower I went on, I still remember it clear as day. I got up about 60 feet, looked around, rested in my harness, looked around. I just kind of went, what the F did I do with my life? Where did I go wrong? Because I didn't know.
I immediately
was
regret
like,
this decision.
I am doing something wrong. But I stuck to it. I wasn't about to give up on it, because Tanya and I were getting married that summer. And I knew that after we got married, we wanted to build a family. So I had to figure something out. I had to work through the risk and the issues, and be as, the best I possibly could with it. And then carry it out, or give it all I could and then move on to something different if I couldn't hack it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to hack it. And that's kind of where it started. It was just kind of on a whim, and I had a little nudge from the wife, and it worked out, and, to where I'm at now. So
speaking of, now you are currently working with, for those of you who are listening, I'm pointing to my hat, Black and Veatch.
Yeah.
Right. So you basically, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you basically created their whole safety program. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Not Black and Veatch's. They are huge. The company. So the last contractor that I worked for, yes.
Theirs. Gotcha.
Not Black and Veatch. Yep.
Okay.
So the last company that I worked for was MDTS. In that I was with them for about 7 years. So I worked with a contract. When I first got in, I wasn't with MDTS,
mm-hmm.
right? I worked with a different contractor, and then MDTS was developed successfully. And I worked with MDTS. I stayed with them for 7 years. So I worked my way up from being basically doing civil work, meaning groundwork, to moving over to the tower side of the business, becoming what we call a top hand. It's basically your second in charge, or the person in charge of what's happening on the tower, to a foreman for the crew. And then I became a construction manager. I did that for a few years, handling some carrier work, 2 different carriers. And then the company that I was with, they grew so much, and we had a lot of people coming in, that they basically were like, hey, Matt, we need somebody to train these people. What do you think? And they kept giving me all the green hands. I kept getting these guys on my crew, and I'd train them up, and then they would pluck them one by one and put them on another crew after I trained them up, right? And I molded them, built them to where I wanted them to be, and they'd pluck them and send them on to another crew. So I didn't realize in the long term, they asked me to start training, and I did. And that's kind of where my safety career kicked off, as a safety and health manager. Kind of, well, not on purpose, kind of accidentally, because I really loved the construction side. I loved climbing the towers and building the sites. So now, after that, I currently I'm with Black and Veatch. Phenomenal company. They do a great job. They take good care of all their own people. Employee-owned company. They do a good job taking care of their people. We strive hard to take care of the contractors. We're actively involved in each job site, everything that we're doing from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Have that oversight, be that resource, and be that coach and that mentor the best we can. So, so I helped build the safety program for the company that I worked with before where I'm at now.
Gotcha. Okay. So with that, were you able to take some of because of all the training that you were having to do overseas with, training the Afghan police and everything like that, were you able to kind of pull on some of those training methods when it came to applying it to that, all of the safety programs that you're working with, and the training of the, of the new guys and all that stuff? I mean, were you able to pull from some of that?
Absolutely. And I still do. The military gave me a lot of different sets of skills, intangible skills that I didn't
Like
have
like
before.
like Liam Neeson type skills. You have a special set of
Yeah,
skills
I
that
got
you.
these special set of skills. Yeah, well, not Liam Neeson. He could take me all any day of the week.
Yeah,
So,
right.
well, only in Taken,
Yeah.
not in real life. He's a gun grabber. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I'm not gonna say that they gave me those skills, but they helped to develop them.
Yeah.
I think there's a testament going back to even high school sports, right?
Hmm.
And I don't relive the glory days. They were great friends, great people in school, but between Coach O and Rowan and Porritt and the rest of the group, there was a lot of things going to Hazlitt and a lot of things that they instilled in me and or even brought out in me that I didn't know that I was capable of doing until junior year rather in football. And so there's a lot of benefits there. And I think what the military did is they kind of developed these skills. So the self-discipline, the accountability, the response, being responsible for yourself, but above yourself, being responsible for other people, right?
Hmm.
A lot of times in life, I think we focus so much about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we think so deeply about how do I get ahead of the rest? What do I have to do for me and my own?
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes people get so blinded and they don't realize that sometimes doing the best for yourself means doing better for those that are around you.
Hmm.
If you don't develop people that are below you or around you, then you can't peak. You can't be better, of a person, of a man, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so focused on ourselves, right? I want to get ahead. I want to make this kind of money. I want these benefits. I want to go here in life. I want to have this. I want to give this to my kids. We focus on me. And we don't focus on everybody that's around us. Sometimes you have to focus on those that are around you. And that's kind of what the military did, is it allowed me to focus less on me and what I'm doing and what accolades I can get and how do I benefit myself. But if I can help bring these people up next to me, I say below me. I don't mean below me as far as they're less of a person. I mean below me like rank structure, right?
Yeah.
So these people around me, rather, if I bring them up, they can make me better. If I make them better, they make me better because I can pull them up to where I'm at, and then I can move up from there,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
There's a difference, kind of like in the workforce. There's a difference between being a boss and a leader,
Oh yeah.
right? A boss can bark orders all day long, and they're really good at that.
Yeah.
But a leader is going to lead by example, and they're going to bring people around them up to their point, to where they're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to better those that are around me because it ultimately makes the team better. It makes the company better. It can make your crew better. It can make your squad better. However you look at life, it can make you as a person, your family better by bringing people around you. So there's a lot of things. So I made a potential short answer very long, but the military, I think, brought that stuff out. So I carry that stuff now. So when I go to work and I'm working for Black and Beach, and I'm this safety manager for the market that I work on, I try really hard and I fail. Okay. We all do. There's
Mm-hmm.
times that I fail. I don't hold myself to the, to the same standard that I know that I should be. But I always strive to do that, to coach and mentor and make other people around me better. I don't worry about people taking my job or running me over, right? Not everything is a dog eat dog world. Sometimes you have to bring people up around you,
Mm-hmm.
to make yourself better. So those skills and those disciplines that I got from the military, I can carry to where I'm at now.
That's great, man. And yeah, and and that's the thing too, is it's the same. I think if there was more of that in other industries, that can sometimes be more dog eat dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of more people would be able to find more success and would be able to find more, or would gain more fulfillment in their jobs, because they know that they're doing something to help someone else also. Rather than just, oh, I'm gonna do this for me. I'm gonna get mine.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it does end up helping you in the long run. Because it shows the type of leadership skills that you have. It shows that you're a good team player, and you're a good, you're a good collaborative worker, and you can lead, or you can be put into leadership positions without even having to be given that position just by helping someone else move forward, which then in turn helps them look at the example that you set and go, okay, well, maybe I can help this person down here because he helped me.
Right.
So yeah, that's that's very important, I think. I just talked in a circle there. I'm not sure where I started to where.
No, I get you. No, I think you're right. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think sometimes, people forget to realize that you can sit there and serve yourself. And this goes to multiple levels, and not just in your professional life with work, but your personal life, your friendships, your neighbors, your family. You can spend your whole life serving yourself and never be satisfied. But if you find ways to serve others, right? Christ calls us to serve other people. So if we find ways to serve other people, it might not always be, hey, I'm going to go donate here, or I'm going to go make a meal for these people here. But you can find ways to serve other people, because if you can carry that and serve other people in the workplace, you can serve your neighbors, you can serve them in different ways. You build them up. You help to make them better. You can make your community better. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's real and it does work. Yeah. And you can make your work environment better, right? You have the whole one bad apple spoils the bunch, right? You hear that. We've all heard that since we were kids. Yeah. But in the workplace, a lot of people are always like, oh, there's that one person. Oh, there's that one person at the office, or there's that one person in the field that, they bring everybody down. But if you find a way to build them up, right, then you're serving everybody around them too. So you can serve people with that positivity, and it goes a long way. Yeah. But you got to think outside yourself. Yeah.
And it's sad that you felt like you needed to say that it sounds crazy.
I know, right? I know.
But you made a good segue there in terms of the positivity. One thing that I always like to ask everybody, just to because it's always interesting to hear people's different points of view and and different ways, just because that they go about it, because then I think anybody listening might be able to, they might be struggling, might be able to take that and go, okay, maybe I'll try this, and maybe it'll work for me. So how do you keep a positive mindset in everything that you do?
How do I keep a positive mindset?
Whiskey?
Whiskey. Probably my kids. And I know a lot of people say that, but when you have kids, your whole life changes. Mm-hmm. No longer is anything about me; it becomes about them. So I keep a positive mindset by basically, I look at those that are around me and the people that I care about. What do I have to do to take care of my kids, my wife, my family, and make sure that they're in good shape? It's really easy to fall into a pit of negativity and being pessimistic. This won't work, that won't work. Life sucks. Well, life doesn't suck. And I think it's important to remember that life is a privilege, right? Mm-hmm. People look at life as a burden. People always say life's a bitch, then you die. And that's bullshit.
That's dark.
It's not true, right? Yeah. Life is a privilege. You were picked, among all, who knows, billions or trillions of other people that could have been in your spot, right? Life is a privilege. And I think it's important to hold that close and understand that you were picked, God picked you above somebody else in your spot. So make the best of it. And in doing that, find the good things in life. Right. And make sure that, you find what's important to you, you lock into it, and then, be as positive as you can and try to make the best of it. So
that's good, man. Well, yeah, there's nothing else to say on that. I don't think that's very, very well said. Okay. Well, you know the deal. Let's wrap up into the goods.
The goods.
Okay. Number 1, what is your go-to drink of choice?
Well, Jameson.
Classic.
I love Jameson.
Classic. Yep. Irish answer.
Just straight. No mixing, nothing like that. Just straight Jameson.
On the
And that
rocks or
stems
neat?
from either. I'm not picky. I just like it. And what I think what it stems from is Tanya and I went to Ireland on our honeymoon, and we went to the Jameson distillery. And in one of their tasting rooms, we got to taste, different whiskeys, different bourbons and stuff like that from across the globe. And I was just like, yeah, no, I still really like Jameson. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to. Outside of that, I'd say, I don't know, milk or water. But how boring is that of an answer?
All right, Tyler, giving me, pop and
Yeah.
Okay,
A
so
macchiato coffee with 7 shots of something. I don't even know that
of
stuff.
espresso.
Yeah.
All right. To all you Lions fans out here, this is what you get. Okay.
Send it.
Who was better, Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith?
Emmitt.
100%. My dog.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to know if you got what kind of feedback you get on this answer. But obviously, I mean, look at the rings. End of story.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
Look, all right, honestly, I think Barry beats Emmitt.
Don't you flop on me now.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Ready?
All right.
I'm gonna preface this answer, right?
Okay.
Barry can have Emmitt on the side to side. After that, it's game over. It's game over. And only Lions fans, like if you travel around the US and you talk to people about this thing, right?
Yeah.
Only in Michigan do they say, yeah, but if they had the line that Emmitt had, if they had the offense that he had, and blah, 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 blah. Everywhere else, not everywhere, right? So I'm not going to blanket the whole U.S., but I've been all over the place, and I've actually talked about this with people in Texas, in Oklahoma, across the Midwest and stuff too. And they're just like, oh yeah, Emmitt. I mean, Barry was fun to watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was great, but Emmitt was the overall better running back.
Yeah.
I know we can throw the yards out there, we can throw the rings out there, we can, Super Bowl wins or whatever. But obviously, go Cowboys, right?
Go Dallas. And see, that's the thing is, growing up, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure you probably do, but we grew up in Michigan, right? And basically the center of Michigan, near Lansing, the capital, and so everybody was Detroit Lions fans. For what reason other than geographical reasons? I don't know, but it's, I mean, for a long time I felt bad for Lions fans. I did, because I was like, oh man, just you get your heart broken again and again. But then it's like, then I start to look at it as it's like those people in abusive relationships that get out and they just keep going back for more and keep going back for more. And it's like, okay, at this point you're doing it to yourself. They're going to suck. They're going to continue to suck. And they're not going to be like, whenever.
Even Barry was like, dude, I'm done. Forget it.
He left early.
I quit.
Calvin Johnson left early. You know what I mean?
Yeah, screw it. I'm done.
Yeah. Like,
I'll save my body.
Yeah, because
Barry was fun. I mean, he was very explosive, and what he could do in the way he could break tackles, there's no doubt. I mean, there's nobody like him, and he's one of a kind. There's nobody similar. Like, people have tried to compare other running backs to Barry.
Yeah.
And you can't. You go, yeah, okay, nice try. You're just trying to be nice to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of compare some other running backs maybe to Emmitt because he was more of a bull of a runner. He did have a lot of side to side, but since he played in the same era as Barry, it was nothing like. I mean, he had more moves than half the running backs nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of running backs they run sideways and then they run forward until they get tackled and it's game over.
Yep.
And I mean, Barry there's nothing. I mean, you can't take it away. Very dynamic player. He was awesome, but Emmitt wasn't just good running the ball. I mean, he was a great receiving running back too. So.
I just think it's funny that whenever the Lions get one decent name, oh, this is our year. This is when it's going to all come together.
Oh yeah, we're going to make the playoffs this year.
And then they fall apart, and then it turns into, oh, the refs screwed us this year.
That's the big one.
Against us this year.
Yeah. Oh, the refs. Oh, they love Green Bay more than us. No, you guys just you got a terrible team.
And God bless Matthew Stafford for getting out.
The best player that's ever played in Detroit was Matthew Stafford. Yeah. And you know what? I hope he goes and he just crushes it now.
I do too.
I hope.
Because he's
just so that organization can know that, like, yeah, everybody good that we have, like, everybody goes to Detroit to die, or Cleveland. Well, Cleveland at least has found a way to turn things around,
which is very surprising.
But you have all these like awesome guys come out of college, they go to like Cleveland or Detroit, and they just flop because they don't have that foundation. Yeah. But I think it's got to go deeper. There's got to be something more about, like, you go to like New England, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just have that winning aura around you, right? Yeah. We're going to win. We know we're going to win. You go to Detroit or Cleveland, you're like, I'm just going to go and try to make my money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do the best I can to earn my money, and that's it. And hopefully, I don't know. It's just different. I think the mentality within the organization is just different.
Yeah. I will say, though, being a diehard Cowboys fan, what do you think of Dak's contract that he signed? An astronomical amount of money.
What, $160 million?
Something obnoxious. Yeah, for like 4 years.
No.
And $72 million of it is guaranteed.
I think they had a better shot with Romo than they're going to have with Dak. Now, don't get me wrong.
Wow.
I think Dak is good.
Bold statement.
He's a versatile player, whatever. But if you have a quarterback that's just like, I want my money, and yeah, they're all going to be like that. That's normal, right? They want their money. Yeah. But if you're going to go for something so astronomical, then you know that player, their mind is all about the money. It's not about the wins.
Yeah.
They want to win enough to keep their contract. But you have all these other big name quarterbacks like Peyton and Tom and Aaron. Like, at some point, most of them, maybe not all, but most of them have taken some kind of a pay cut to bring the players in to help them win championships. Yep. And those are the greats. Those are the great players.
Drew Brees did that too.
Yep. Those are the greats. But that's why they win Super Bowls, and that's why they're Hall of Famers. They don't last 5 to 10 years at best.
Yeah.
And then barely win a couple playoff games.
You know what's sad is all of the talk that's going on right now of Aaron Rodgers wanting out of Green Bay. Mike McCarthy is with Dallas. Ooh, dude.
It won't happen though, because they just paid Dak way too much money.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's sad about it. Is there's no way they could ever. But dude, could you imagine?
You got this broken chicken running around with all this money now, instead of bringing on this new guy, new old guy, right?
Yeah. Could you imagine if
McCarthy?
Aaron Rodgers went reunited with Mike McCarthy, which I don't even know. I don't even know if they even liked each other, because was it them that got along really well, or did they not get along really well?
I don't know.
Either way,
I don't know.
You put Aaron Rodgers in Dallas Cowboys' offensive scheme, there's a Super Bowl, and I would call it.
Yeah.
I would bet,
or he'll just flop and die.
I would legit bet my money. I would fly out to Vegas and personally put money down on that season, because dude, he's a winner, man. He gets it.
He is. He knows how to win, but he knows how to rally his people too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he's so cocky, but I love it because he can back it up. You know what I mean?
He's like soft cocky though. He's like
nonchalant.
Cool guy cocky. Yeah.
Like he can just casually throw 60 yards off his back foot, just like flicking the wrist.
And just kind of goes, I knew I could do it.
Yeah. And it's just right in the bread basket every time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On to the next question. Anyway.
All right.
If you could change one thing about your time in the military, what would it be? If
I could change one thing?
Yep.
It's a tough one. I would say I would probably maybe consider going infantry instead of being military police.
Why is that?
More, I think the infantry, I think number one, there's a little bit more to offer, but there's a lot more mission-oriented work, a lot more foot patrols, a little bit more in the game, if you will.
Yeah.
The NPs, when I was over there, we got tasked out with a lot of things. Like, Pulling security. I mean, when you're sitting there pulling security all day long or all night, and you're sitting there waiting, and you've got, you're either at an entry control point, or you're making a perimeter around something just in case something pops off. It's really boring. And I did it because I thought, even on the civilian side, I could be garrison and be on post somewhere and basically be a police officer. So, it's versatile that way. But if I look back and change it, it might be infantry for combat purposes. But I don't know. That might be it.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally, what are some ways that you work to keep yourself grounded and keep yourself centered?
A whole lot of prayer. Yeah, I mean, whether things are really good, sometimes when things are going really, really good for me, or really well, rather, sometimes I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. Like, okay, it's some things are too good right now. I'm waiting for that to break. What's going to happen, right? So I rely a lot on prayer about what's going on, and just being thankful for the things that I do have, the people around me. I mean, I've got a phenomenal wife. I've got 2 beautiful little girls and a very awesome, smiley son now. So remembering to be thankful for what I have. And then, when times are tough, sometimes for me to be grounded and remember that I try to remember that there's, no matter what happens, there's somebody out there that always has it worse than me, right? They have more trials and tribulations that they're going through. So it helps me to remember that when times are tough, it's not always all that bad. So I fall back on that, on prayer once again. But then at the same time is always remembering to be humble. I know where I come from. I know the successes that I had and the shortcomings that I had. I know how, maybe dumb I was at times during college, and decisions that I made that could have been way better. And they all kind of molded me into who I am now. But being humble with where I'm at now versus where I was, and never forgetting the things that I'd done, and the things that kind of molded me, right? The building blocks of life, and not kind of forgetting who that is, and who I am, to just keep me grounded, try to make sure that I'm a good person, but most importantly, to make sure that I can pass that same mentality on to my kids. Maybe I can give my kids more than I had growing up, which is what it should be. I'm sure grandma and grandpa would appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that in doing so, I can build good quality, I guess, skills and mannerisms, for my kids. So making sure I can pass that forward. That's
awesome, man. Well, hey, brother, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story, and and everything that you had been through and gone through, and and also just being able to chat and kind of shoot the shit. So I appreciate it, man.
I know, it's always fun. It's man. Fun. So thanks for having me, dude. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I know that you ran out of friends and people that love you.
Jeez, come on.
So you had to fall back on your older brother. I get it. It's fine. It's okay.
No.
Last resort, but it's fine. I had a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, man. And I'll send you your check later.
7 figures, right?
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right.
All right, and that wraps up our time here on The Good Life. Thank you to Matt for coming on board and jumping in the hot seat to talk about everything. And we will see you next week.